Hello, everybody, and welcome to another NintendoFuse game chat, where today we're talking all about The Legend of Gwen for the Nintendo Switch. So, The Legend of Gwen is a 3D platforming title that comes out from Flynn's Arcade. So, first off, thank you so much to Flynn's Arcade for providing us review codes. This game, you play the titular Gwen, who is like a little sorcerer, a little witch, and she goes around 3D platforming levels collecting stars to keep going as you visit different moons. Each moon has their own different obstacles, enemies, traps, bosses. This is played from an isometric view, so it's a 3D platformer from a with like a almost like a fixed camera when you move through the area. Greg, what did you think of Legend of Gwen?
It was certainly a very interesting experience that I had with it. So I did notice the difficulty curve is definitely a lot higher than normally what you're used to for starting out. So I did die and have to retry the first level several times. Um, I would One of the things that was kind of frustrating is that even if you do fall off mid level, it throws you all the way back to the start of the level. So if you're missing one of the final stars, and then you have to kind of retrek through the entire level while the time is still kind of counting down. So that almost makes it kind of pointless at that point to try to complete the level, especially if there's very little time remaining. So that was a very frustrating aspect of it. So almost like the time was almost kind of unforgiving in certain aspects of it, or almost kind of pointless to be using as a grading scale to prevent further progression even in the game. I mean, I can understand if you want to make it like the standard Mario like games where there's a time limit and you do die and restart the level, but it kind of felt like it was kind of inhibiting it, especially the way it made you respawn, to redo the entire level over again and having to recollect all the stars again. So those didn't save if you did a complete failure of the level, and then you still had to go back and complete some of it. So that being said, it was that part was kind of difficult to get used to and get adjusted to. But the actual gameplay, the platforming was pretty solid. Some of the camera controls were kind of interesting too. There was only four angles of the camera. It was a very square based camera, so you can't really quite get the perfect angle at certain times. So it's kind of hard to gauge a depth of where some of the platforms are. A number of the obstacles are just floating little floating islands, and you had to perfectly try to guess where to do a jump, and normally a star or a gem or rupee of an item that you really needed was on this little island, and that was kind of fun to try to gauge how far to go there. And then obviously with the pre-mentioned death mechanic where it throws you back to the beginning of the level, and you have to kind of trek your way all the way back there just to try to get another opportunity to acquire that star or that item again. But yeah, other than those kind of small quirks with the different levels, I did play through the first handful of levels, and it was pretty reasonable experience.
I agree with you on everything you said. I think this game has a cutesy like aesthetic, and it lures you in thinking this is going to be a fun romp, and it is. It's very challenging, for better or for worse. And part of that challenge, I feel, comes from the control. I feel Gwen has a weight to her that you wouldn't expect. There's almost a delay to the movements, and it takes a little getting used to. And then like you said, the camera is really hard to gauge depth in an isometric view. And what doesn't help is the shadows. Like usually in a game like this, your shadows will help you. You can use your shadows to see where you're going to land, but your shadows disappear. Like they do not help you in gauging landing on these small little platforms. And you only get a few tries before you have to restart the level for completely. And you can't just be like, oh, I missed the star, whatever, I'm still going to beat the level. You can't. You get to the end of the level and it's like, oh no, you need to collect all the stars and then get back here. So I was like, oh no, now you have to, your choice is to die to start over and lose a life, or try and backtrack. um there are other optional items you can collect in stages. So if you are a completionist, there are stuff to go for. But it is not one of those that think a lot of people will, because of the higher difficulty. And it almost takes me aback. Like if you're looking for that type of challenge, it's great, but I wasn't. I was especially like the early on, like maybe like a later level, but like the challenge is there from the very first level. And you do have a wand that you can shoot. I didn't mention that, but you can shoot at enemies. Um, the aiming is not great, and your attack is very slow. Again, there's that delay. And I noticed when I would kill an enemy, they just kind of stayed there dead. They never disappeared. They just like belly up, dead on the platform. It doesn't bother you, but it's just funny to see like dead enemies just littering all over the place.
Yeah, I did see that, and then I did notice, like I think it was like the third level, the where there was an enemy that actually fired projectiles, and man, those were like really like super homing in on you. Like you really had to like run away. Like you couldn't even like really attack the projectiles or really do anything. So that was like really like hunting you down, and it really like almost really leveled up the difficulty level just in that one instance, just because like just like kind of hunted you down.
It definitely feels like they knew what they were doing in that regards, to the point that even if you go to Nintendo's website on the game, it literally says, due to the high difficulty of the game, different help chests and a boss hunter were added. So they knew, like, I guess these are like updates. They put these under features, but these are updates to the game. They knew about it. They knew people complained about the high difficulty, and instead of toning down the difficulty, they just added help chests. So take that for what it is. So Greg, I have to ask you, the game is $10, 9.99 on the eShop. Would you recommend this game to somebody at $10, wait for a sale, or pass entirely?
I mean, if you do like challenging type platformer games, I do see a few elements where some people might find that kind of fun to go through and to challenge like their gaming experience. But I think for the average person, I would say it's pretty safe to pass on. So I think if you're really one of those people that really like those challenging type games, like 1,001 Spikes and other like Super Meat Boy and other games like really ramp up, like have really challenging platforming challenges, then that might be a good game for you to check out. But if you're just a average person just looking for a little something fun and not very high stress, then I couldn't recommend this game to check out.
I'm gonna have to sadly echo that. I think that if you really like challenging, punishing platformers, where it takes you a while to get used to the controls and you don't get too frustrated about missing a jump and dying, then yeah, I can absolutely recommend this game. I would still say wait for a sale, but if that doesn't sound exciting to you, then I think you're safe to just skip this and move on, which is unfortunate because I feel like there's some potential here, and I feel like with some tweaking, there's a really good game here. But as it stands now, it's hard to recommend. So thank you for joining today, Greg, and thank you to Flynn's Arcade again for providing the review codes. For other game chats like this, as well as our podcast, industry talks, and a bunch of other videos, please go to nintendofuse.com. And until then, thanks for watching and have a great day.